From the chaotic streets of Weimar Germany to the shadowy alliances of modern international communism, Antifa is not merely an idea, it is an arm of and weapon in the arsenal of revolutionary Marxism, a niche affinity in a vast network bent on toppling freedom and the American way of life. Drawing from intelligence sources like the Center for Security Policy and Unconstrained Analytics, law enforcement documents and briefings, and the vigilant researchers on platforms like X, we now unmask this threat for you. As citizens, we are called to defend our constitutional heritage against political warfare. Join us now in this brief journey through history and into the battle for tomorrow. Our story begins in the fragile Republic of Weimar Germany, born from the ashes of the Great War in 1918. Amid economic ruin and social upheaval, a force emerged, Antifaschistische Aktion, or Antifa. Founded in 1932 by the Communist Party of Germany, this was no grassroots movement. It was a militant arm of revolutionary communism, forged in street violence to crush opposition to the Marxist vision. Their tactics: black-clad mobs hurling bricks, firebombs and fists at rivals, Jews, conservatives, even moderate socialists who stood in the way, and they branded all these enemies of communists as fascists. Historians now recognize how this chaos paved the road for Adolf Hitler, and more broadly, how communist revolution often is derailed by fascist revolution. Antifa's assaults on free assembly and debate created a vacuum of fear, discrediting moderates and Christians and handing the Nazis their pretext for power. But make no mistake, Antifa was not just fighting fascism. They were the vanguard of an ideology that views all order, all structure as oppression to be smashed. Communism and socialism, they are one and the same. A creed promising equity through violence against the enemy, aiming to remake society through punishing terror. By the 1930s, Antifa's roots plunged deeper into global conspiracy. Enter the Communist International, Comintern, the Soviet engine directing revolution from Moscow. Founded by Vladimir Lenin in 1919, Comintern orchestrated the United Front, a strategy to breed seemingly disparate factions under one red banner towards communist revolution. Antifa became a key affinity group in this network, a niche squad appealing to the angry teenagers, the anarchists, the ideologues craving direct action and violence. While intellectuals plotted, Antifa provided the muscle, the black bloc shock troops enforcing Comintern's will. Georgy Dimitrov, Comintern chief, preached this united front as a crusade, drawing in socialists, unions, and unwitting liberals as fellow travelers to mask the true goal: worldwide dictatorship under Moscow. Beneath the anti-fascist rhetoric lay the Stalinist core: purges, gulags, and the murder of 60 million souls. As Unconstrained Analytics exposes, Antifa and its kin, communists, anarchists, socialists, form a hydra of far-left extremism, far outweighing any neo-Nazi fringe, likely due to the deep infiltration of communist sympathizers in government, providing cover for these revolutionary leftist organizations. The Center for Security Policy warns that ignoring these groups invites disaster, as they thrive on the surveillance they decry when turned against them, and federal law enforcement has failed to correctly identify their domestic threat. At least, failed up until now, as we await a possible official terrorist organization designation from the Trump administration. In Weimar, this Antifa United Front fractured the left, dooming Germany to totalitarianism. The lesson? Divide and conquer is the Marxist playbook. Yesterday's socialists become today's pawns. The Comintern officially dissolved in 1943, but it lives on through their historic infiltration, subversion, and conquering of institutions across the globe. The United Front evolved, metastasizing into today's public-private colossus. No longer confined to Soviet halls, it's a weave of international governments, non-governmental organizations, and shadowy funders advancing communism, call it socialism, leftism, or the Democrat agenda. They are near identical in their assault on American sovereignty. Antifa endures as the street-level affinity with multiple named groups implicated under their banner: the John Brown Gun Club for armed militants, the Socialist Rifle Association for the ideologically pure, Rainbow Reload for queer revolutionaries, Black Bloc for steering protests towards insurrection, all niches in a thousand-headed beast. Like the decentralized structure of Islamic terror networks such as Al-Qaeda, Antifa operates without a rigid hierarchy, relying on autonomous cells and online coordination to evade detection while amplifying coordinated strikes against perceived enemies. Funded and trained by ties to Cuba's terror training camps, Venezuela's narco-revolution, China's Belt and Road Empire, Russia's hybrid warfare, and Latin American holdouts like Nicaragua. NGOs play the velvet glove. Think open society foundations funneling billions into democracy fronts that fund Antifa's chaos. Governments provide the iron fist. Beijing's United Front Work Department co-ops diaspora communities, while Moscow's GRU stirs unrest from afar. Recent outrages tell the tale. Just days ago, on September 10, 2025, Christian conservative leader Charlie Kirk was assassinated while speaking in Utah, with the suspect, a young radical Marxist with Antifa ties, charged with his murder. Public posts from known Antifa affiliates, such as Armed Queers SLC, on platforms like X, revealed chilling foreknowledge of what was to come, with predictions and celebrations surfacing days and hours before the attack. These groups then link back to guerrilla training camps in Cuba, where these radicals honed rebellion tactics as proxies for foreign powers like China and Russia. This isn't isolated. Reports confirm Antifa-linked militants traveling en masse to Havana for guerrilla instruction, returning battle-hardened to American soil. And it's not just Cuba. Antifa fighters have long sought combat experience abroad, with dozens of Western radicals joining Syrian civil war fronts in the 2010s, embedding with Kurdish YPG units in so-called Antifa platoons to battle ISIS, gaining real-world skills in urban warfare and improvised explosives before rotating back to deploy against domestic targets. This isn't domestic dissent, it's foreign terrorism, a foreign terrorist organization masquerading as activism. As Representative Belcher notes, these groups swim in the sea of leftist culture, permitted by a structure that winks at Marxist violence while crying insurrection at patriots demanding their rights be respected. Nor is this confined to America. Other nations have already taken the step we must. Hungary has moved to designate Antifa a terrorist group, while in Germany, where Antifa carries out assassinations and street violence against politicians and rivals, authorities prosecute members under anti-terror laws. We must draw a firm line. Antifa and its revolutionary ilk are separate and identifiable as evil, criminal, and enemies of the Republic, distinct from pro-American groups, even those enacting similar methods at times. Their beliefs are godless Marxism, their goals affirmatively revolutionary: to overthrow the United States Constitution through violence, chaos, and subversion, and to render you and your family slaves or corpses. This makes them adversaries, as they call evil good and good evil, in Isaiah 5, verse 20. Pro-American defenders, rooted in constitutional fidelity, act to preserve liberty and order, even if force is required in righteous self-defense, or methods of cancel culture are needed to restore balance and make unrighteous violence taboo. Antifa's violence is criminal terrorism aimed at destruction. Ours, if ever needed, and hopefully as enacted only by official arms of the governing authorities, upholds the foundations of our republic that they seek to burn. Their endgame: erode the republic from within, flood borders to destabilize, abolish prisons to unleash chaos, capture institutions via Gramsci's Long March through education and media. Communism isn't dead, it's rebranded, globalized, and it's at your doorstep. Fellow Americans, this is no time for slumber. As Ephesians 6 verse 13 urges, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may stand your ground. Antifa's history is a warning. Unchecked, the violent splinter will inflict terror on America, while the mainstream Democrats utilize their extremism as cover to erode your rights. Educate your families, vote with vigilance, and stand firm. Terrorism, insurrection, sedition, and treason must be met with the full force of government now, or we will not get the opportunity again.